All right, so you want to scale your agency with paid ads. I did the same thing. I scaled mine to 75 grand a month. You can scale to way bigger numbers than that. But one little side benefit, I'm going to cover 6 things here for how to actually scale your agency with paid ads and how I did it, some mindset tactics and so on and so forth. I'm going to try to get into the nitty gritty here about stuff that I don't really hear people talking about when it comes to paid ads. But I mean, I just got back from a trip. That's why I didn't upload for 2 weeks with my girlfriend. We went to British Columbia, Vancouver Island. I didn't pay for my flights because I have a travel rewards credit card. Highly recommend it just for business expenses in general, but especially if you're spending a lot of money on ads. I mean, it's so easy to get a flight a month. It's really sick. But there's 6 things I want to cover here. And the first thing that I want to cover is the investment side. A lot of people wonder, how much money do I need? Where should I start? What can I start with? And the way I like to look at it and the way I was taught was to start with about $3,000 to $5,000 that you're willing to completely burn or lose. Now, the odds of you losing that money, generally speaking, based on your skills, which is number 2, the odds of you losing that money, pretty low, assuming you do number 2 correctly, which we'll get into. But you want to set aside an amount of money. $100 a day is generally a good amount to start with. The more the merrier. Like with running ads right now, I'm starting at like $350 a day plus. It's really up to you and where you're comfortable with and the amount of money that you have. But you want to be able to put forward an amount of money where if you lost it all, it's really not that big of a deal to you. 3 to 5K kind of as like a minimum baseline starting point is a good place to start. Again, $100 a day budget, $150 a day budget, somewhere in that range is cool. That allows you to test, right? Now, the second thing I want to talk about is your skills. And it goes off of number 1, which is what you need to understand is really when you're running paid ads, you should already have skills. Otherwise, you're going to just throw all your money out the window. Right? So you should have experience with appointment setting, you should have experience with sales, you should have experience running ads in the past, or at least be working with someone who is teaching you how to do it, a mentor, a friend, whatever, right? But when you have the skills, the mindset shift on that 3 to 5K becomes, okay, I'm not going to lose this money. Odds are, worst case, I might lose 20% of it or 30% of it in my testing period. Right? So in month 1, let's say you spend $5,000, like maybe you make 4K in sales in cash collected in your first month. It's like, well, that's not that big of a loss. You only lost $1,000. So you could afford to do that for 3 to 5 more months, right? With that 3 to 5K loss limit or stop loss, whatever you want to call it. So when you look at it that way, it's like, it's really not that big of a deal. And odds are, worst case, you're probably going to break even, because if you're in the range of, let's say, 10K, 20K a month in your agency, and you know what you're doing, you've made sales, you have some stuff working already, it's really not that hard to, basically break even with ads. Now from here, what we want to do is stack the deck in your favor. I put a U because I'm Canadian. But it literally, the answer is just run lead ads and then call the leads and book your appointments. Like, the only difference is, like, let's say with a cold email or a cold DM, you're getting a positive response in some way, shape, or form. You get the positive response, you call the person. With an ad, it's like you set up a landing page or a Facebook lead form or whatever you want to do, and then when the person signs up, you call them. It's the same thing. All you need to do is make sure your lead cost is within KPI, and then from there you can handle the rest, because let's be real, you probably already have an appointment setting process, you probably already have a sales process, so on and so forth. So stacking the deck in your favor really looks like, how can we just generate a name, email, and phone number within a certain cost? And it's like, if you run an ad agency, you're already familiar with doing this for your clients, so you can just think, well, what might my clients want to sign up for? What's a lead magnet that's applicable to these people? Like, this is seriously, and collecting phone numbers is really the crucial point here, but this is the easiest way to do it, right? Like, because even then, if you get cheap lead costs and whatever, like, you can be brutalizing half of your metrics, but just because you have a low lead cost, especially you ad agency guys, which is most of us, it's really not hard to be getting, meetings within KPI. And then from there, it's like, oh, let's say your close rate's off, whatever. We'll get into all that stuff in a second. Now, the next thing you want to do is make it hard to fail. Now, this is similar to number 3, sounding in the name, but it's completely different. And what I mean is, don't just use an offer that already works. You have something that got you to 10 or 20 grand a month or 8 grand a month or whatever your number is, right? You got to a number where you have, let's say, 10 grand in the bank, or after, let's say you lose the 3 to 5K, then you have 10 grand in the bank, right? So you actually have 13, 15 grand in the bank. Something got you there, right? So the last thing you want to do is completely switch it up and be like, let's do this new free trial offer on paid ads that I've never tried before. That's the last thing you want to do. The best thing you can possibly do is just make all variables in your business otherwise identical and use paid ads as a method to simply generate more names, emails, phone numbers, leads. Then you're just calling them with your existing appointment setting call script. Maybe you change the intro line to, hey, you signed up for my ad versus, hey, you responded to my email. Otherwise, the rest of the process is identical. And that's how you're going to make it hard to fail. Same offer, same sales pitch, same sales process, same appointment setting script, sales script, objection handlers, like same everything. Now you're just using ads to generate leads because you have some money to do it. And don't get me wrong, in the beginning, you can spend less on the ads if you want to. Like some people do spend less, and that's cool and that's fine. Totally up to you. I just like to go heavier on ads because I'm more of a paid ads focused kind of guy. But again, number 4, just make sure you're using an offer that already works because that's going to make it hard for you to fail. Now, number 5 is the ROAS mindset. This is really interesting, and I've seen some light bulb moments in some guys that I've shared this with. And it kind of goes off of the number 2, skills, where I was talking about, well, given you have a certain skill level in your agency already in sales and appointment setting, lead generation, right? Let's say you're getting a break even. Well, what that does when you're putting forward that 3 to 5K risk amount is that's buying you time. Because if you're at a break even, now you can burn out this way and I'll get into that in a little bit. But if you're breaking even on your ads, all you have to do is just improve your systems until your ROAS increases and increases and increases, right? Maybe you're at a 1x ROAS cash, right? Ideally, you want to be at a 2x within 30 days at a minimum. But ideally, you're, or let's say you start off at a 1x. Well, at this point, you're learning to run ads completely for free. So now it's just a matter of hopping on the calls and adjusting the process, or editing your ads and seeing if you can reduce lead costs or whatever, right? It's a very complex game running ads. You got to look at all your metrics and understand where you're going wrong and how things tie together, because each funnel step actually depends on prior funnel steps. So that's one important thing to note. It's not that just it kind of is your close rate is your close rate, and let's say your opt-in rate is your opt-in rate. But the way that you script the ad can impact your close rate, which is a whole other conversation. But where I'm going with this is you can run ads completely for free if you're breaking even, and all you have to do is iterate, make these tiny incremental improvements, review sales calls, or look at whatever point in your funnel where the metrics are lacking and just make some adjustments to those, right? Make some relatively slow but rapid adjustments, and I'll get into the speed of iteration. But then you're just making adjustments completely for free, and then you increase your return. And then once you're at a 2x cash on a monthly basis, that's where number 6 comes into play, which is you need to increase your spending tolerance. So the amount of money you're comfortable spending on ads, right? I'm starting out with $350 a day USD, right? That's where I'm starting. Now it comes down to, what do you want to test? How fast do you want to go? How much money do you have to dispose? What's necessary versus unnecessary, so on and so forth. But the goal of paid ads is to spend as much money profitably as physically possible. So what you don't want to do is get caught up on getting a 13x ROAS. If you're getting a 13x ROAS on your ads and you're spending $3,000 a month, that's pretty sick. You're making $39K a month. But what if you just even doubled your budget? And let's say that 13x became a 10x, right? Not a big deal, right? Now you're spending $6K a month and you're making $60K a month. That's great. And you're making more profit still, right? They're diminishing returns as you scale your ads, but the goal is to spend as much as possible. And the big players, they're getting anywhere between, generally speaking, a 2, a 4x ROAS within their first 30 days, or cash, excuse me, 2 to 4x cash return in their first 30 days. And like, that's all you need. All you need is a 2x within the first 30 days. So once you're there, you just spend as much as you can while maintaining that, bare minimum. You want to do more, obviously, but that's like your bare minimum amount to maintain. So then it's just like, how can we spend more? How can we spend more? How can we spend more? And what happens is when you have this shift in your mindset, you start spending way more than other people. And then you realize just what numbers are required in order to scale. And the beauty of it is you can be like, oh, okay, well, this is working extremely well, if it is. And then, well, let's just double the budget. And it can be as simple as duplicating a campaign and doubling a budget, or however you want to do it, depending on your ad platform and your strategy and so on and so forth, right? So spending tolerance is really important. You need to, once you're hitting your metrics, you just want to spend as much as physically possible while maintaining your bare minimum metrics, right? Then from there, it's like hire more team members, hire more sales reps, scale ads. Hire more team members, hire more sales reps, skip ads. And by team, I mean more like fulfillment, support, etc. But this is how I did it. This is how I scaled to 75K a month. And this is going to take me to hundreds of thousands a month, millions a month. And it can do the same for you if you understand these 6 things. So that's about it. If you did want to watch any of my other videos, click whatever's popping up on screen here, and I'll see you there.